All right then, lads. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back to Cossy's Arsenal podcast. My name is Cossy. Finally, a deal has been announced. Arsenal have announced the signing of new defender Nuno Tavares from Benfica. It is finally, here we go. Yes, guys, welcome back to Cossy's Arsenal podcast. My name is Cossy, and Arsenal have announced their first signing of the summer, none other than Nuno Tavares. Welcome to Arsenal, Nuno Tavares. It is confirmed by the Arsenal website. It is confirmed by the Arsenal Twitter handle. It's also confirmed on all social media platforms of the club. Sky Sports have also done this story. The Guardian have done this story. Everyone has done this story. Welcome to Arsenal, Nuno Tavares. This is the Arsenal website. And they have confirmed and said Nuno Tavares has joined us from Benfica on a long-term contract. The 21-year-old defender developed through the Benfica youth system, making his Benfica B debut in October 2018 before progressing into the first team squad. He made his first debut in the Portuguese Super Cup win over Sporting Lisbon in August 2019. Over the past two seasons, the Portugal under 21 international, who is predominantly a left-sided defender, made 25 appearances for Benfica. He was in the matchday squad for both matches. We played against them last season in Europa League round last 32, coming on as a late substitute in the second leg. Technical director Edu. This is what I say. This is what Edu has said about Nuno Tavares. He said Nuno is a talented young player who was wanted by a number of clubs across Europe. He will provide strong backup in the left back position. We look forward to him growing and developing with us and becoming an important member of the first team squad. That is, of course, the technical director Edu speaking about him. This is what Mikel Arteta said. He said, "We welcome Nuno to the club. He's a young player with great promise who has developed very well with Benfica in the recent seasons and has also shown his quality by being part of the Portugal under-21s. Nuno's arrival will give the squad extra strength and options in defense, particularly with the energy on the left-hand side of the pitch. We look forward to Nuno's arrival soon, his integration into the Arsenal family, and playing in front of our supporters. The young defender will join up with the team with his teammates in the coming days after he has travelled from Portugal and completed the current isolation regulations for international arrivals in the UK. Nuno will wear shirt number 20. Everyone at Arsenal welcomes Nuno to our club." That is according to the Arsenal website. Of course, the big question on this one is, what are your thoughts on Nuno Tavares? That's the big question. What are your thoughts on Nuno Tavares? I'll be joined by Glenn Kirtley, Everything Arsenal, very, very soon. We'll be here to discuss a couple of Arsenal news. But that's the question. What do you think about Nuno Tavares? How do you feel, Arsenal fans? Let me know down in the comments below. How do you feel? And do you think Nuno Tavares should be a starter for Arsenal next season? It's a very big question, by the way. Do you feel he should be starting, or do you feel it's okay? Let Nuno Tavares be that backup player. Let him be a backup player to Kian Tierney. Do you think there should be things like Kian Tierney dropping out of the first 11? Do you think he can push Kian Tierney out of the first 11? He's been speaking about himself quite so well, and we're going to look at some of the statements he made in his first interview. He's so confident. That's one of the things I really noticed and loved about him. Very, very confident. This is what he said. Speaking about his qualities, said, "I'm fast. I'm good at shooting with my right foot, but I'm left-footed. I can dribble, improvising. That's my qualities, my technique. I have more qualities, and I will find more in this club." Will be exciting to see him out on the carpet. And of course, he was speaking still in his interview, and he said many people have compared me to other defenders in the Premier League like Maguire, Van Dijk, Ben Chilwell, and many others. But honestly, I don't know who they are. So that is the man himself, Nuno Tavares, just speaking, at his interview after signing for Arsenal. It is 8 million euros plus 2 million euros, which makes it 2 million euros in add-ons, which makes it a very good deal for Arsenal. 10 million euros, a backup player. How do you feel, Arsenal fans? How do you feel? We are going to be joined by Glenn Kitely, Everything Arsenal. But how do you feel about this one? Is he a player that you feel Arsenal should be actually, so excited about? Or are we just starting? Right. Let me just get into some of your comments and see what you people are saying in the chat. Here we go now. Central defense, midfield to be filled. Thank you so much, Godwell, as well. Yes, Cossy, congs to Arsenal for that. It's a great achievement. It's a very, very great achievement for Arsenal to get in such a player. Very, very, very great achievement. Very great achievement. Lokonga next, Nuno done deal. This is according to Kancha UG. Kancha, you said you don't believe anything until the player does a medical and is announced. Finally, your first deal is announced as well. I hope you're happy. I hope you're very, very happy with that, Kancha UG. Finally, a new signing. Big up, Glenn, waiting for you down in the chat, waiting for you just 4 minutes away. We want to see more signing than we are chasing over players without signing any. This is according to Simon. And I think we've got the first signings in. We've got the first signing in. The owner and the board should stop that stingy act and get us quality lads. No more inferior players. This is according to Simon. Big up, Simon, as well. We are waiting here. Big up, Dennis. Finally, we have arrived. Okay, let's welcome him first. This is according to Rajab, and says, I like him. Yeah, he's a young player with a lot of potential. Great potential. And I think that's what you've got to look at as an Arsenal fan right now. Young players with a lot of potential could be set to join Arsenal Football Club. So very, very good player. Very, very good player. Cossy, thanks for the show. Big up Rajab. Glad about Nuno transfer. Big up Kelvin as well. Our Ben White Lokonga, new keeper, madness incoming. Big up Marvin in the chat as well. The Rock says he's good. Back up for Kian Tierney. Look, keep voting. Let us vote in the chat. Do you think he should start next season, or do you think it should be actually Kian Tierney starting and then him as backup? Nuno is definitely a second starter. He is good offensively, but must work on his defensive capabilities. Thank you so much, Marvin. No backup for Tierney. This is according to Calvin, right? Our number 3 is still good, but also him. The way he has been playing is good too. Big up. Yuji says, I'm happy because we've got the best backup to Kian Tierney, and he can make it to the first team. Right. Gunnar Steele says Nuno Tavares can play as right back as well as which he is also very, very good. Right. Your comments are really, really, really hilarious. This is a real deal. He is so talented. Can't wait to see him. This is according to Arvis. Big up Arvis. Welcome to our team, and thanks for the updates, Cossy. Thank you so much for appreciating. It really means a lot as well. Cossy, you got me. This is I got you, bro. I got you. I got you. By the way, I look at your comments so much. So make sure you do give me your comments because I read them, and of course I'll do react. Thanks, Cossy, for the updates. Big up as well. Tom, let's see what. Let's wait to see what happens. Right. And say, Rajab says, "We love you, Cossy. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Get in. We've got our first signing announced. Of course, there's a lot to do. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot to do. I think Arsenal have to do absolutely so much when it comes to getting in players, but. At least the first one is in. Trimo says, good deal, Cossy. We expect more to come. Good work. Thank you so much, my bro. Rokani says, it's a great signing for Arsenal because in the modern game, fullbacks contribute a lot in the creativity of the team. I think they will share minutes with Kian Tierney. Big up my brother, Rokan Media. big up, my bro. Cossy, I like your videos, and I'm your #1 fan. And I love your and I love Arsenal. Thank you so much, Peterson, bro. If you guys didn't know the person I was talking about in the last video, he was sponsoring us for data, Peterson. But now we have signed someone. Someone sponsor me for data, really. Use my numbers. Use my numbers. Someone just sponsor me for data because of this new signing. So now you guys have confirmed that this channel is not a fake news channel. We do the real content. Thanks for your updates. Big up, man. Big up, bro. Dennis. And then Katie, always a starter. Nuno will be back up, especially now Katie is prone to injuries. All right, everybody, big up. We have man like Glenn joining us on the show today as well. Welcome to the show, brother.
Thank you. By the way, I'm not late. Cossy is the one who's early. I really wish Arsenal could be like you. If Arsenal could be as early as you with transfers, we could be very, very far. Thank you for having me, man.
Yeah, exactly. I just wanted to get the comments in before we could start the discussion.
No problem.
Yeah. Exactly. Peterson says, I'm going to support you, Cossy. I'm back. Thank you so much. Peterson did sponsor us for internet last month and is doing it again. So everybody who would love to join us is beautiful. Glenn's channel is in the title. Make sure you do subscribe to Glenn. I was there, so a lot of content will be shared between us and Glenn. Make sure you check out his channel, and I'll be sharing it on my community as well, so that you guys will be able to see whatever he puts up. Glenn, we have signed in a backup left back, but what is more important to the Arsenal fans is we've gotten our first signing of the summer. As an Arsenal fan and content creator, how would you feel about this?
I'm happy that we finally got good and bad. Let me start with the good. I'm obviously happy we've gotten a backup left back finally. I think Arsenal is the only team. We actually have so many players who can cover that position. Cedric, we have Xhaka, who's about to leave. We had maybe even Pablo Mari. You never tried him, but none of them can really play it the way you want. You read a comment earlier about modern fullbacks, the modern game. You need fullbacks who can really play. And Tierney is my favorite Arsenal player right now because he creates so many chances. If we had someone like a Giroud at Arsenal still, or Andy Carroll or Crouch, we would be scoring so many goals because of how Tierney plays. So I definitely agree with that comment. So Tavares is the same kind of player. He bombs forward. He can play as a left wing back. He can play as a left back. Plus, he's young. We've all obviously been linked, I think, last transfer window in January, we were linked with Van Aanholt and Bertrand. These are players that I really didn't want because they would turn up or end up like Willian. Maybe they'd be good, but what if they end up like Willian? Right now, we are stuck with Willian. He obviously asked for too much wage in terms of wages, and you can't sell him. What happens if you bring in another older player and they can't leave? The good thing with Tavares is 21. If he stays here for 2 years and then you're like, okay, it's not working out, we've only signed him for 7 million. If we get that 7 million back, it's good. If we can get more than that, maybe due to his Premier League experience, maybe 12 million, it's good. So we sign him young, and then he has time to adapt to the Premier League and to gain experience. Obviously, he's with Tierney now. Tierney is obviously not that older than him, but more experienced, so he can definitely help him in terms of building him up and stuff. So that is the good news. But the bad news is, which date is today? Why are we signing players on like July 10th?
Exactly.
Last season I talked about we signed players. Okay, the previous season we signed the likes of Torreira, I think, and Guendouzi very early, but last season we signed players very late. I think Gabriel joined very late, but Partey joined after already like 4 games or something. The problem with that is, if we sign players with our first game is Brentford, that is like a month away, exactly a month away. If we're signing players this late, we have Brentford, Chelsea, Man City. Am I back?
Yeah, you're back.
Okay, sorry about that. So I really hate it when you sign players late because they need time to adapt. If a player doesn't get time to adapt, like Tavarez is coming from Portugal, never played in England. Lokonga is coming from Belgium, never played in England. I don't understand why he couldn't sign them in June. I don't think Euros is an excuse because they are not playing in the Euros. Edu was not playing in the Euros. Arteta was not playing in the Euros. So I don't understand why you signed them that late. Also, in the first 3 games, if you end up losing the first 2 games or 3 games and you're 6 points behind top 4, already out of the title race by September, players are new. I don't like that. I don't like the way we deal with Partey. I prefer signing players very early. Of course, it's still 1 month to go. I'm not sure if he can play in Scotland against Rangers and Albanian, but I'd love it if this would have been like our 4th signing already now. But yeah, that's the good and bad.
Yeah, and I think Glenn, one of the things you've got to think about is when you sign in players late, they don't get the real socialization. They don't get to get to know the team. They don't get to know the most important attributes of the team, and they don't get to fit in very well. And we've seen Thomas Partey really struggle. And you're like, what if he got an extra month with this team? Probably things could have been better with Thomas Partey.
Yeah, definitely. Let's say, for example, Guendouzi. As I said, Guendouzi was signed very early. We didn't think he was going to be a first team player, but because he signed very early and he kind of impressed in preseason, he ended up playing against Manchester City and Chelsea in the first 2 games. I think that was 3 seasons ago. Lokonga, at least is still 1 month ahead. At least you're still 1 month ahead, so they can still end up playing. So that is a good thing. But I'm very concerned about the other signings coming up. If these ones have taken that much time, Lokonga and Tavares, probably none of us have ever heard of them that much before. If it's taking that long, how will we get nervous? Will we get Madison? How long will it take? But we have to focus on the positives now. Any new signing, you have to give them a chance. And he has a lot of attributes: the height, the pace. He can cover different positions. He can also play right back sometimes. I think that is also something they're doing in this transfer window. They're trying to get players who can play in different positions. We already have Saka. We already have Cedric, Chambers. Ben White can play as a midfielder, as a right back, as a centre back when you get him. Lokonga can play maybe as a 6 or an 8 and stuff. And Tavares as well can play as a left wing back. He's played as a left midfielder. He's played on the right. So I think it's more positives than negatives for now.
Exactly. And look, what is your overall take on Nuno, especially at the fact that we've been linked with so many players in that area? You think about the likes of Josh Doig. You think about the likes of Patrick Van Aanholt. You think about the likes of Ryan Bertrand, who's now signing for Leicester City. Do you think it's the best option? Or did you just think about it and you're like, you know what? I think it's the best card, in the basket.
So if Tierney was injured, I really hope not. The day Tierney gets injured, I think I will cry because if Tierney was injured and you're signing Tavares to come and cover for 3-4 months, I'd be concerned because I think you mentioned it in your previous videos. I think he played only 14 games last season. Of course, he was out because of the virus, and he also missed out a couple of games because I think of an injury. So that is a concerning thing. I actually think he played less than 50% games last season, so we need to watch that. But overall, as long as he's a backup, I'm okay with that. If he was a main signing, I'd be very worried. But as long as he's a backup, I'm not concerned about it. And as I said, if he doesn't work out, you can always sell him because you only bought him for 7 million. We can always offload him to another country, to another team. Maybe if a Premier League club wants him, they can take him. So, but let's hope it works out as well. So a lot of time to grow. 21 is very young.
Yes, exactly. People, thank you so much for tuning in. 100 people watching. Hit that like button. Hit that share button as well. Let's get to at least 60 likes on this show. At least 100 likes on this show, guys. So please do smash the like button. Please smash that like button. Kancha UG, you're asking for my number. The number is my number is on the screen. My number is on the screen. I hope you can say it. Very, very visible. I put it in the comments. Whoever wants to see my number, it's in the comments. Now, our second signing of the summer, Glenn, is going to be Albert Sambi Lokonga. He is Albert Sambi Lokonga. And I'm really thinking about it. It's taken so long, but it's finally here. And we could actually, in a space of 3-4 days, we could announce 2 signings. What do you think about
Mhm.
Lokonga first and foremost? Central midfielder, young player with a lot of potential, the same age as Nuno Tavares. Do you think because a couple of months ago, it was an exclusive article from 90 Min that actually said that Arsenal is looking to target young players that they can sell in the future. Of course, it was a little bit hurting for me to read, but do you think maybe it's true because now we have Konga 21, you have Tavares 21. Probably are we going down that route? Young players, groom them and probably sell them. Are we going back to that mode of transfer where where we were the likes of Samuel Nasri, the likes of Chess Fabregas? Do you think, because I mean the lads are so young, they are really young. They're not 28, they're not 29.
Those players you mentioned, those days we still had players who were a bit experienced. We still had
Yeah.
Van Persie in the team. He had played with the likes of Hondry and Barkamp before. We had the likes of Kolo Toure who had played in the Invincibles team before. We still had maybe 5 or 6 players who are Arsenal by blood, so they could still help the young players, the Ramses and the Wilshires that were coming through. Right now, I don't know. I only have space for these 2 youngsters. I wouldn't want to add a third and a fourth because I think we already have too many. I think
Yeah.
Gabriel is young. Saliba, who's I don't know is going to play for Arsenal or not, is young. Tierney is young. Smith Rowe is young. Saka, Willock is back. There's only so many young players you can have in the team. You have to have a balance. If your players are too old, like Crystal Palace, you'll struggle. I think they have like an average age of like 29 or 30, you'll struggle. And if your team is too young, they need someone experienced to help them out. And I always hear people talking about selling Lacazette, selling Aubameyang. Which players will you remain with? Will you remain with the youngsters? Yes, you can have Tierney as a captain, well and good, but you still need at least 5 or 6 experienced players. Right now, I think we only have like 3 or 4 because Xhaka is leaving, Cedric could be leaving, Bellerin, who's maybe not that experienced, but Arsenal by badge is also leaving. So I think I'm only allowing 2 youngsters for now. I like that idea of getting young players and selling them later because I think in the transfer market, I think Arsenal by there, I mean, we are all Arsenal fans, but I think Arsenal are one of the worst teams in terms of negotiating in the transfer
Yeah,
market.
exactly.
Like if
Exactly.
I had my own team, I wouldn't even try to deal with Arsenal. Like I'd be like, I want 30 million. You're giving me 16. I wouldn't even do any deals with Arsenal because I think
Yeah.
they're very not serious in the transfer market. They like the last 10 years, especially. So I want to see change. We've seen a couple of changes, signing the young players. We've given Saka a new contract. We gave Aubameyang a new contract. Recently, we've given Tierney a new contract. So I'm seeing a few changes. So I'm happy with Lokonga as well. Getting players as well who can play in different positions. Although we know the attitude problem with some young players, but we are hoping that's where again experience helps. Another player who left is Luis, so we definitely need some more experience joining. But for now, I'm also okay with that.
Yeah, exactly. Lokonga doesn't bring in experience at the moment, and everybody in the chat thanks so much. Lokonga doesn't bring in a lot of experience. He brings a lot of potential. He brings a lot of talent on the table, but he doesn't definitely bring in experience when it comes to that Arsenal side. So you would have, would you either have, because Xhaka is on the verge of leaving. So I'm going to ask you 2 questions. Are you contented with Granit Xhaka going to Roma and leaving the club at the moment? Do you think his work is over at Arsenal? And then do you think we need to bring in a direct replacement of Xhaka, or for you Lokonga could do it?
So for Jacques, I always say, I don't like hating players and abusing players.
Yeah,
Obviously, we know he always makes mistakes sometimes. When you look at the most mistakes in the Premier League the last 5 years, and 2 of the top 3 players in that list are Arsenal players, Jacques and Cedric, you get very worried. So for Jacques, I've always said the last 2 years especially, I really didn't want Xhaka to be sold, but I also didn't want Xhaka to be our main player. I don't mind if he came on for the last 20 minutes, bring on some experience. He knows how to hold on to the ball, like possession-wise, he knows how to pass. Come in for the last 20 minutes and keep possession. Long balls, maybe to Aubameyang and Pepe pace, go waste time in the corner flag, maybe. That is fine. But I think we've reached a point where he wants to leave. Already some fans are not like 60% of fans can never forgive him for everything that has happened. I think he really wants a new challenge. So this is the time where you're like, maybe even like in a relationship, maybe some of you have experienced it. Maybe sometimes it'd be like you and your man, or you and your lady, it'd be like, you know what? Yes, we've been through a lot, but I think we need new challenges. We need new spaces, and let's try something new. So maybe Xhaka needs to try something new. He's been in England for 6 years, and I wouldn't say to consider him an Arsenal legend or a Premier League legend. So I think it's time for him maybe to try something new, and for us to get something new. We already know what we are getting with Xhaka. We already know what we are getting with El Neni. We already know what we're getting. Yeah, even with Lacazette, if you want to put them on that list. But for Lacazette, I always say I don't think we can get better strikers now. But midfielder-wise, I think we can get better midfielders. The second question is Lokonga direct replacement? No, not really. Yeah. 21 years of age, he played in Belgium. That position is very, very crucial. That is the same position where you'll find N'Golo Conte gets operating. You'll find a lot of very good players operating in that position. So we can't have Lokonga and El Neni playing against N'Golo Conte and whoever they're going to sign. United are going to sign new players. Maybe have Fred and someone else. Man City, their midfield is very good. Liverpool may probably sign another midfielder. So that is a very crucial position. That is the most important position for me in the field. If you lose your midfield battle, you're in trouble. Basically, you've lost the game. There are so many good players in that position. So I don't think direct replacement, maybe after one season, get some experience from Partey, get some experience from whoever we are going to sign in that position. Of course, injuries as well always come without knowing. So he can cover a few games in the Premier League. Obviously, he can play against, I wanted to say Aston Villa, but I just remembered how much Aston Villa have disrespected us the last 2 years. Maybe you play against a Brighton at home and a West Brom at home. Maybe you can throw him in those games and rest the other players. But against City, against Chelsea, against Liverpool, did you really trust Lokonga in midfield? And if Partey is out, did you trust Lokonga and El Neni? I don't think so. And also, I don't want him to spoil his name that early. I want us to give him time. Let's put him with other players. Let's have him learn a bit. You can't just throw him in the deep end into the lion's den, and then after 2 months we all say he's a terrible player. This is why you shouldn't sign players from Belgium. So let's give him time. Let's have him on the bench for the first few games. Maybe after the first international break, he can start a couple of games. But starting immediately, no.
Right. We have Ben White, who could be our third signing. Guys, it looks like a transfer done deal show, but it will progress a little. So Ben White apparently is we have agreed a deal in principle with the player as well as with Brighton. And according to Gianluca Di Marzio, a deal is one step away from being completed as well. It's the Euros. It's the Euros. After the Euros, the likes of Fabrizio, the likes of Von Stein, the likes of Di Marzio, they've all said Arsenal is very, very close to getting Ben White as their third signing of the summer. Of course, it will be the fourth signing of the summer if you consider Arthur Okonkwo, another one we will talk about before we progress to the midfield. But Ben White, all he has done is that he's played 36 games out of 38 for Brighton last season. He also played a total of 42 games in the Championship last season, but one for Leeds. He was on loan from Brighton. Yeah. Look, and one of the things I really do love about him is if you look at the statistics, he's so good at keeping himself away from red cards and yellow cards. We are paying 50 million for a centre back. First and foremost, 50 million for a centre back. How does that sit in your head?
That is something Arsenal have never done before. That is the first thing I think about. I look at City defenders, Walker, Cancelo, Stones. I think they've paid like 60 million for each of those players. Yeah. But for Arsenal, I don't remember splashing cash. I remember Vermaelen back when we were kids. He was like 7 million or something. Koscielny was like maybe 10 million or something. Santos. Nightmares. Remembering those players, nightmares. Bellerin, free centre-backs, the likes of Sculacci. We never really paid a lot of money. I think the last one was Mustafi, 35 million. So I'd understand why you didn't want to pay a lot of money for defenders, because Mustafi did not work out well. Maybe it was 30% good and 70% bad. So splashing that cash really surprised me. Okay, we've not splashed it yet, but if we do, when he was chosen for the Euros, I wasn't sure about him. I was also like, what is Southgate doing? Just because he played this season. But after Arsenal got linked to him, obviously he changed your thoughts and then you do more research on him. But I'm glad you pointed out those two attributes and aspects. The first one is the number of games he's played. I looked at that and I was doing some video about him and I was very, very excited about that. Obviously, let's not forget that.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
The durability, and that's one of the things I really love about centre backs. Harry Maguire, I mean, we troll him every day on Twitter, TikTok, and everywhere. But one of the things he has is he plays 38 games for that Manchester United team, and he's durable. And that's one of the things you want in a centre back. He's so durable.
Yeah, and that is something we don't have at Arsenal. Obviously, I know we signed Partey without injuries, and then he came to Arsenal and started picking up injuries. So those can happen. I just don't understand our medical team and stuff. But playing all those games, that is very important, because like last season, we saw Gabriel playing with Chambers. We saw Gabriel playing with Holding. We saw Holding and Murray. We saw back three with Tierney in there. We saw Xhaka in there as well. With if Mavropanos was there, would have been there as well. Why? Not because those players, not because we were just rotating for the sake of it, because players were getting injured, players were getting suspended and all that. In that position, I've said midfield is my most important position in the field, but in terms of staying consistent, it's defense. You have to have at least 3 defenders who are there always and a goalkeeper who's there always to create an understanding. Because if today, if I'm working with you today, I've been working with you on YouTube videos for a year, so we understand each other and what to ask and not to ask and stuff. So if I work with you today, I know what to ask you tomorrow and stuff. But if tomorrow you give me, let's say, Jeffers from the chat straight away, I don't know Jeffers doesn't know me, so you'll be like, okay, what is happening? And then tomorrow it's you and Joshua in the chat working together, people you don't know. So you need to create an understanding, because defensively, that's how clean sheets are. You remember Chelsea in 2005-06, I think, when they conceded 10 goals alone in a season. I think Cech, John Terry, Carvalho, Gallas, and I think it was Bridge. I think they played every single game together. Maybe a few games because of red cards. That is because of an understanding. For us, we've never had that. Koscielny and Mertesacker, I think, were the last ones to play many games together, and we need that. So Ben White can definitely bring that. I was shocked. The championship has 46 games, and he played all 46. That is very hard. Like, championship, they play Saturday, Wednesday, Sunday. The Premier League, we've only had that in the previous season because of the virus and the games being congested. But the championship is like that every single season. So playing 46 games, going away to Nottingham Forest, and then at home to Fulham, and then away to, and those teams are fighting for relegation, fighting for promotion. It is very hard. So very, very good. If you can play all 38 games, I'd be very happy, very, very happy, especially that you don't have Europa League and stuff, just focus on the league. I'd be very happy. And then the disciplinary record. We saw last season, how many red cards did we pick? I think the last 2 seasons, Arsenal have the most yellow cards in the Premier League. Arsenal, that is very, very poor. I think in the Euros or the World Cup, I think the World Cup in 2018, I think is it Cameroon or Senegal, one of the teams, I think it was Senegal. I think Senegal went out of the World Cup because of their disciplinary record, because of picking up 2 more yellow cards than Japan. So let's say that was brought into the Premier League and they were saying the team with the most yellow cards every season will be relegated. We would have been relegated the last 2 seasons, or the most red cards last season would have been gone. And then I always watch your shows, by the way. Everyone always watch Cossy's show. It's very, very nice. And you always point out most of the red cards we get are very pointless red cards.
I mean, exactly.
Very pointless. Pepe, pointless. If it is like we are 1-0 ahead against Chelsea and Havertz is through, and then you pull him back and then we win, that is a good red card. But those ones for fighting, headbutting people, Xhaka, Pepe, even Gabriel's was very unnecessary. Bellerin, I think, picked up 10 yellow cards last season. Very unnecessary, some of them. that is a concern. So if you can have someone like a Ben White who can keep his discipline and pick up 5 yellow cards in 46 games, I definitely take that. So the durability and discipline, I'm definitely happy with that.
Are you contented with the money we are paying? I mean, I feel like we are overpaying for Ben White. Look, he's durable. He's played a couple of games, so many minutes in the past 2 seasons. But Brighton, of course, and the potential of him as a player is English. He's just 23 years of age as a defender. He still has 10, 20 years, 10, 15 years on his career. But 50 million euros, 50 million pounds, actually 55 million pounds with add-ons. Don't you think we are paying more than we should actually be paying? I feel like we are paying some, we are paying some English tax somewhere. Maybe 35 million pounds, would do. Maybe 39 million pounds would do. But 50, is it because of the euros plus being English plus? What do you think? Do you feel he fits the price at the moment?
It's the English tax, as you said, and also the Arsenal bullying tax. I think we've been bullied in the transfer market the last 5 years. Bullied. Last we saw we gave Ramsey to Juventus for free. Yeah. And then the next year we were linked to Ramsey. And then you know what they said? We need 15 million from Arsenal. That is just disrespectful. They're just like, we'll take your player for free and then you're going to sell him to you in 1 year. Yeah. People have never respected Arsenal in the transfer market at all. So I always wonder how Liverpool managed to get Jota for 30 million, Salah for 30 million, I think Mane for 30 million, Thiago as well, I think something like 15 or 20 million. Very, very cheap prices. And then we end up paying Mustafi and Xhaka almost 40 million each. I've always wondered why you always end up paying so much money for all those players. And it's because you're being bullied. So that is the other place I really need us to change. I definitely agree we shouldn't be paying 55 million, 60 million. But I think we're in a very desperate situation and every team knows Arsenal are desperate. 2 seasons in a row, we want to sign players, fans like, I think this is the last season fans, the few fans remaining who are patient can remain patient. I think if we finish like 9th again this season, people will start giving up and Arsenal is a mid-table team, will start being kind of real, unfortunately. So I think 55 million is too much. I'd pay, if it was maybe, if they wanted maybe, let me give you 3 scenarios, maybe 20 million plus Niles, for example, that would be okay. Or maybe a 40 million and a Nelson on loan for 6 months until January, that would be okay. Or maybe if it's cash straight up, maybe I wouldn't even go past 40 million really. Maybe a 40 million at most. But 55 million and add-ons as well. So basically, even if you go to sell him, I think they'll get some money from that, all that. I don't like that, but I think we're in a desperate situation, and those 2 factors that you've talked about are really impressing me, that I'd just go for him. Plus, he's played in the Premier League. I know it's only 1 season, but again, I think last season he also played like 36 games or something. So he's definitely experienced. So I'd just have him either way. Let's just get the business done. Because we missed out on Suarez because we refused to pay £1 on top.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it was a ridiculous situation. I talked about it, and I was like, I mean, those days when Arsenal was so bad. But maybe the Ben White deal, does it show any change in our transfer policy? I mean, we've been struggling to pay, to buy English players. We've been struggling to buy expensive players, especially defenders. We rarely go for expensive defenders. The last one I remember was Squadron Mustafi. Do you think maybe our transfer policy is changing? Do you think maybe this is the start of a new Arsenal? Probably it'll change the way we do things, change the way we achieve, change our mentality. Maybe do you think maybe the start of a new brand of Arsenal?
Okay, I really don't support spending 10 billion every transfer window. That makes everything very easy to win trophies. But hey, it wins Man City trophies, so we can't complain. I'm about mixing things. Bring up youngsters, or Okonkwo you'll talk about later. Bring up the youngsters and also buy players. But the last 10 years, we've been really stuck. I'll never forget 2016. People are buying players. People are buying Manes, people are buying very, very good players like Chelsea United. I think around that time they were buying Di Maria, buying Falcao, those kind of players. And then a whole 4 months, we bought just Czech, Peter Czech,
Exactly.
for a whole 4 months. We paid 10 million for Czech, and that was it.
Yeah.
So you can't compete.
Well, I think it was Ali. I think we did it somehow Ali.
So I think
And
that's the only place I
yeah,
usually blame Wenger. I don't know if the money was not there, if it was just him who wanted to develop the youngsters. Sometimes you have to spend the cash. You see a good player, you go and you get him, because if you stick with your players and the cheap players, that's how your team will always be looked at, as a cheap entity. Obviously, it worked for years. We bought players on a cheap and sold them for a lot of money. The Nasris, maybe the Vieira, I don't know if it's Vieira, a few players, a lot of players actually, the Petit and all those players we bought for a few pounds and then sold them for a lot. That is okay, but football is changing and you have to change with it. Whether long time ago, fullbacks never used to attack. The Dixons and Ashley Coles, they never used to attack. But these days, you have to have fullbacks who attack. A long time ago, you could pass the ball back to the goalkeeper, he could catch it, and he could throw it back to you, you could pass it to him again, and he could no back pass. So football is changing everything, whether it's the game itself, whether it's the refereeing. I always see people saying, oh, that is not a red card in the Euros. And I always say that is a red card. This is 2021, it's not 1970.
yeah, exactly.
That is a red card. So this is the other place that football is changing, transfers.
Yeah.
Football is changing, you have to change with it.
And you can definitely now score a goal with two balls on the pitch. I mean, the Italians are making a fuss of it.
Yeah, you can score with 2 balls on the pitch. Maybe next time we'll be playing with 3 with 14 players. So if it changes, you can always imagine if they say FIFA and UEFA say, okay, now players will be playing. There'll be 14 players on the pitch now for each team.
Yeah,
I can always imagine if we still had Wenger, they'd be like, no, we love football. We respect the historians. You're going to play with 11. Fine, you're going to play with 11. Others are going to play with 14. You're going to be relegated. So if football is changing, you have to change with it. So if you have to pay the money, let's pay the money. And if it's 55 million, although the only thing I'd say is it our biggest priority? For me, I'd spend that 55 million on a midfielder first. A Bissouma or a Neves or a Maddison first.
Actually, I was so surprised. Yeah, I was so surprised that the Athletic had actually published an article and said one of the priorities of Arsenal this summer was a centre back. I was like, come on, we have William Saliba in this area. How dare you say that? How dare you say we are going to sign in a centre back and it is a priority? But it looks like Arsenal have looked at it as a priority even bigger than the central midfield area as well as the attacking midfield. But Saliba, do you think we still have a chance on him? Do you think this is the end? Third successive loan deal. The moment he comes back, he's going to ask out. That's what I think. Do you think he's going to be, tolerant with this kind of behavior? I mean, many people have called it mistreatment and a couple of other things. What do you think about him as a player? Probably, his feelings, because I think that is where, we are really talking about the emotional part of it.
To the 160 people watching, if any of you are Saliba fans, I'm just going to disappoint you. I actually don't think we'll see Saliba playing for Arsenal. I think after next season, you will just end up selling him. The first season, remember, first of all, he was not signed by Arteta or Edu. He was signed by the previous regime, Emre and whoever was there. The ones who signed him. Arteta doesn't. He probably is not a fan of him. Edu is not a fan of him. And they've probably already, their problems cannot be resolved as of now. So it was not his signing. We've seen a lot of players who are not at signing not playing. I think it's only Pepe and Leno who are playing. And Pepe wasn't playing, Willian was playing. Saliba went, of course. Guendouzi, Emre signing, nowhere to be seen. Torreira, Emre signing, nowhere to be seen. So a lot of players we had 3 years ago are being shipped away. So Saliba, the first season, we needed a defender, and he was taken out on loan. I couldn't understand it. Last season, we brought in Gabriel after Saliba was already at Arsenal again. And I thought Saliba was going to be the one starting in the first game with Luis or with Pablo Mari or with Holding, but ended up being Gabriel. And I was like, Gabriel has come in like 1 year later and is already playing. definitely they don't like Saliba, unfortunately. So I don't think we'll ever see him play for Arsenal. I think after next season he'll be sold, and we have to cut our losses. I think if you're to ask me, let's wait for him next season to come back, or if you can get 25 million, 2 million loss on him right now, I'd just sell him, because I think it will just end up being there and then another loan, and then as always ends up going for free, and you lose 27 million. So I don't think it's fair on him. I think he should be given a chance, obviously, to play. Let's see how he does in a back three. Let's see how he does in a back two. We only saw him playing in one game against MK Dons. So actually, even if Arteta is not here, the next manager, I don't think he'll bring back Saliba. I think even if you get a new manager, they'll end up bringing in their own defender. So I think it's a goodbye to Saliba, unfortunately.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's really hilarious. A 27 million pound signing, and you loan him out three for 3 consecutive seasons.
So you have a lot of money, yeah? It looks like we have a lot of money. You can just buy 30 million players and send them away.
Yeah. But guys, that has been, part one of the show, our defensive part, and basically the new signings that we're bringing in defense. Can I look at our midfield as well? We've been linked a couple of them, and we shall get Glenn's thoughts on what he thinks about them. Let's smash the like button, people. We have reached 70 likes. That's really massive. Let's get them to at least 100 likes. So people, don't rest. Let us get them to 100 likes, 25 likes, 140 people watching. We will get there. 20 likes, 25 likes to go. Glenn, like we know, Xhaka went out. He's told the Arsenal hierarchy, I want out, I want to go. And it is no news now. It is no secret. We've been linked to a couple of possible replacements, and I think we've had a couple of interesting votes on the channel. Renato Sanchez, we're just gonna get your thoughts on them. Renato Sanchez, Ruben Neves, Yves Bissouma, probably the people's messiah, the people's favorite as well. We've looked at Houssem Aouar, who could play as a central midfielder as well, and we have also looked at more options. But let's start off with Ruben Neves, because he's dominating in the news at the moment. Yeah. Arsenal offering him a 5-year deal, according to Nicolo Shearer, and of course, Di Marzio says Arsenal have turned their interest to Ruben Neves, and now he's their priority. What are your thoughts on Ruben Neves? Look, he's a young player, 24 years of age. I was shocked. He looks 30, but he's just young, 24 years of age. He's had 3 consecutive seasons at Wolves in the Premier League. It makes him Premier League proven. I'm not really trying to bribe you, but what are your thoughts on him? What are what are your thoughts on him?
I think he'll be like. I remember 2 months ago he said he's a right-footed Xhaka, but maybe minus the mistakes and stuff like that. I like the fact that he's young as well. He still has a lot of years to come, so that is a tick. Another thing with him, he can play. He can play a lot of games, just like Ben White. He never misses games. That is another very good tick for us. Because in midfield, how many games did Partey miss? How many games did Smith Rowe miss? A lot. So we need someone who can play a lot of games. Quality-wise, in terms of shooting the ball, definitely I'm going to take that. We have problems in terms of players shooting the ball at Arsenal. It's been there for like 15 years. I've never understood why Arsenal players never shoot the ball at all. Partey shoots the ball, but we all know how many balls have been collected outside the stadium from his shots. So for those are positives. Disciplinary record, though, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it's like middle. The only worry is I want us to bring something very, very different. You already have Xhaka, we've already seen El Neni, we've already seen Willock, we've already seen this and that. I need something that we lack from our midfield, goals. We've lacked a lot of goals from our midfield. We've lacked a lot in the last 5 years. Guendouzi only scored 1 goal for us. Partey has never scored. Torreira only scored, I think, maybe 3 goals or something. El Neni, yes, last season he scored like 3 a lot. That's a lot for midfielders, for Arsenal midfielders, 3 goals. So I need something different. No, Neves, does he really score goals? He doesn't. He scored like 4 penalties out of the
Yeah,
5 goals last
I
season.
mean, yeah, he's not that goal scoring material, and I mean his discipline record is not so bad. 8 yellow cards last season. He almost played all the games in the league, and I think he collected around 10 yellow cards in the previous season. Apart from last season, but the previous one. He collected around 10. So his discipline record is not bad, but he's so good at tackling an interception. And I think something that that Thomas Partey wants. What's that person that
Mhm.
can actually help him with the baggage of tackling and disposition, and we can also use him to keep took the ball. I think he's a little bit faster as a player. He has the vibe in that midfield, but like you said, he doesn't score many goals. Probably could that be the reason as to why he's another Xhaka? Many people rate him as another Xhaka.
So I'm not saying, listen, if you're giving him for 30 million, I'll definitely take him.
Yeah, a
But
bargain.
yeah, I usually try to look at strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah.
If you have 5 strengths and 5 weaknesses, I wouldn't take you. If we have maybe 10 strengths and 5 weaknesses, I can try. If you have though 15 strengths and 5 weaknesses, I'll take you, and then we can work on the weaknesses. For Neves, obviously goals is not what we are after most importantly in midfield. We want someone who's solid there, someone who understands the position, someone who can cover the position well, someone who can stay disciplined, don't pick up red cards, stick in your position, help out Partey, create an understanding, with Partey, who can go forward, who will remain behind. He's also good from free kicks and stuff like that. So I think he has more strengths than weaknesses. He's good from set
Yeah.
pieces, but we also thought Willian was good from set pieces. We also saw how that worked out. He's good from the tackles, I understand. He's a bargain, I understand that. He can play every single game, I understand that. He's very good at long balls, I understand that. So I think there are more strengths than weaknesses. So I'll take him. But as I said, if you were to ask me Ruben Neves or someone else, I'd look at the someone else first to
Right.
look for something totally different, because I think in terms of the long balls, we already have that with Jacques. In terms of scoring from outside the box, we've seen that with Jacques. In terms of scoring free kicks, we've seen that with Jacques. So corners, Xhaka takes corners as well. So maybe if not Neves is better than Xhaka, it's by maybe 5-10%, not that much. So 30 million, I'd take him, but if there are other options that you can mention, I'd look at them first.
Then we have Yves Bissouma, who is desperate to join Arsenal. Who he would do anything to join the club. He's told his agents he wants to join Arsenal. They should sign him in. And actually, he's just waiting for an offer from the club, an official offer from the club. That is not actually happening. Fabrizio says Arsenal doesn't look at him as a priority. They want something very different in the midfielder. What are your thoughts on Bissouma? Probably the perfect midfielder, the people's messiah.
People's Messiah. People love him. People love him. Arsenal fans have asked for him the last 4 months, like straight
Yeah.
5 months. I remember him laughing at us when they beat us. I think they drew us some years back. I think he would be. I know he's not the same player as Neves, but for that kind of money, I definitely take him. That's the other reason at Neves, Premier League experience. Someone who's played in that position before, someone who's played in the Premier League before, someone who can battle. When you play like a Liverpool or Man City, when you go away from home and then we play with 2 holding midfielders or 3 holding midfielders, you need someone who can complement Partey, someone who can play with Partey, someone who can help Partey. I do not understand why I've not gone for him, because it's yes, players want to come to play for Arsenal because of the history and stuff, but these days not many players want to go and come play for Arsenal. Some want to go and play for PSG, others want to go and play for Aston Villa, others want to go to play for Man City. So Bissouma, again, I think Bissouma he would be a very good buy. But just
Yeah.
like Saliba, I said 2 months ago, I don't think Saliba will be at Arsenal. I don't think we'll sign Bissouma. I think Lokonga will join, and then another thing to hold them back. I don't know how many other teams are really serious on him. I think he might end up staying at Brighton until like January or next season. But if again 30 million, I'd take him. But crazy money like 50, no.
Yeah, exactly. Now we have one in Italy, and it's Manuel Locatelli. It's a difficult one with Manuel because he wants to play at Juve, and actually, Sassuolo are also very open to selling to Juve first than selling to any club abroad. The player is also very open to joining Juve than joining any other club abroad. Um, I mean, Locatelli has been in fine form, very good in the Euros, very good last season. He gives you whatever you want in that, in that, in that area of the midfield. Would you take would you take him over Bissouma and probably Neves?
Um, no, those others have Premier League experience. He doesn't have yet.
Yeah.
Locatelli, I only knew him from 3 or 4 games at his team. It's Sassuolo. But in the Euros, I think there's people are really keen on him because he scored 2 goals in one game. I don't remember the team he was playing against, but he was very good in that game. I think that is why people want him. I
Yeah.
think he's definitely better, maybe skill-wise, maybe in terms of scoring and maybe all that Italian flair and all that. Maybe it's better. But if you're to ask me now, Neves, Bissouma, Locatelli, I'll still go with Bissouma because he's Premier League experienced. Locatelli would still need time to adapt. I don't know how old is he?
Locatelli is 23.
Again, very, very young. He's looking like we're looking for younger players. But again, unfortunately, those are the ones I don't think would want to join Arsenal. That's as I said. I think he'd want to join Juventus. If he joined Arsenal, I'd be very surprised. I'd imagine other teams would come for him. But for me, I want to look for Premier League experience. That's the other thing we need to change about our transfers. What you said, paying the money, renewing the contracts early, and also getting players who are already used to the Premier League. I've never known Arsenal as a team that signs players from the Premier League. Who are the last players that I can remember signing from the Premier League? Czech, Arteta, not many. Like all our players, Sanchez, Ozil, all of them come from outside. Arshavin, all of them come from outside.
Maybe Chambers as well.
Yeah, very few come from the Premier League. Okay, the ones that already experienced, Chambers was just starting out and he splashed cash on him. So the ones who already Premier League experienced, they never do that. So let's get the Premier League experienced players now. Let's try something different. I'd want 2 out of those 3 players. I wish you could get 2, then you could have cover. But since we signed Lokonga, I don't know we'll get 2. So if it's 1, I wouldn't choose Locatelli.
All right. And then finally, Renato Sanchez in that area. I mean, he's had a very good tournament in the Euros with Portugal dominating in a couple of games, dominating and bullying a couple of midfielders, in the tournament. I mean, look, he's not been so bad even last season with Lille, but his numbers are a little bit disgusting. They don't look so good. And for me, I feel like he's so inconsistent. He's so inconsistent. It's gonna give you some 5 games, and then it's gonna get lost for 8 or 4 games, things like that. But what are your thoughts on Renato? I mean, he was since 2016 been following him. I mean, yeah, he is a good midfielder in the making, but he has not proven that to the maximum for me.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, very well.
We definitely can't start paying 50 million for players who are going to turn up for 14 out of the 38 games. We need consistency. Also, another thing, okay, Renato Sanchez, I can't say I've seen a lot of him. Portugal, a few games, and I remember when he was at Swansea in the Premier League and he really struggled. Obviously, you can go out and improve yourself and come back a new player. But in the Premier League before, he really struggled. There's a lot in midfield in the Premier League, you need a lot. You need fight, you need discipline, you need a bit of flair in you need a bit of heading ability in you. Like there's a lot you need. So I like his shots from outside the box. That can help. But as you said, his numbers are not that great at Lille. So 50 million, that is too much. That is too much. Again, there are better options than Sanchez.
Yeah, exactly. So, finally on the show, thanks everybody for tuning in. It's been very, very wonderful. We're gonna speak about the attacking midfield area, and that is where we shall leave it for today. Do smash a like on the video. Just give me 10 more likes, guys. Thanks everybody. We just hit 90 likes, so just give me 10 more likes, and we will call it a target. 10 more likes. 150 people voted whether Nuno Tavares starts or ahead of Kian Tierney. or Tierney starts ahead of Tavares. And the vote at the moment stands at Kian Tierney at 77 and Nuno Tavares at 23. That is awesome. That is really, really awesome. Let us back up that with more likes. Let's back up that with more likes. Thanks, everybody. You guys are the real deal. So the tension is before we go to the attacking midfield, what are your thoughts on these two players? Raheem Sterling linked with Arsenal and Riyad Mahrez. I mean, I've not done so many videos about them, but I've closely follow the rumors, and I'm like, okay, fine. I'm looking, I'm looking at you. What are your thoughts? Probably could you have one of them and Arsenal? But I think it would be a very difficult deals to do.
Oh, that would be a dream. Arsenal getting married, that would be a dream. I can actually say that I'm 99% sure none of them can ever happen, unfortunately. Why would Manchester City sell Mahrez and Sterling? Maybe they would for a lot of money, though. We are still talking 60 million against 7. Sterling, after these Euros, you'll still have to pay 80 or 90 million, maybe even 100. Even though he had a very terrible season last season, you still have to pay because those players give you assists. Like, I think Sterling is very consistent in terms of getting 10 goals and 10 assists per season, both delivering in both Mahrez, both as well. Last season, he literally ripped apart PSG by himself. Those players you cannot get on a cheap, and would they really want to come to a team that is not in any? I don't really think we can afford any of them. Yes, they definitely make a huge difference, but again, priorities. We don't need wingers that much. Saka is there, Pepe is there. Maybe not as good as Sterling and Mahrez, but you already have those positions. We cannot splash 80. I'd be very happy but sad if you splashed 80 million for Mahrez, I'd be like, why are we not splashing that for a central midfield or something? So those are players you're never going to get, and I'm glad you're not doing videos on them.
Exactly. Right. So the attacking midfield is something that is a point of concern as well. James Maddison, according to AFC Bell, very credible source, it says Arsenal looking at Maddison and he is on top of our lists. We are also looking at apparently we are also looking at Houssem Owa, who I think we are actually targeting as a number 10, because if you look at the other players we're linked with, they are more of central midfielders. So I would take Owa as a number 10 personally. There is James Maddison, and I think Masho Sabitzer. Those are the three I'm more interested in because they look the more likely deals to happen in this summer. So what are your thoughts? Do you think probably Arsenal going for Maddison? What do you think about Arsenal going for Maddison? Very expensive, but goal scoring midfield and with a lot of goal scoring ability.
Oh, Maddison, we need a player like that. Maddison, Grealish, De Bruyne, we definitely need a player like that. I wouldn't go past if I would pay 58 million for Maddison. I'd actually pay it. Maybe not 70 or 80, but 58 or 59, 60, I'd pay. Maddison is very good, man. Premier League experience as well. He's very good at set pieces. He can take the ball and drive with it, with the way De Bruyne and Grealish does. He can pick up the ball from Partey and move with it. He can pick out a pass. He can shoot the ball. He can score goals from any angle as well. Corners, he's very good at corners. I think also last season, if you take a look at Arsenal's games, I think we got like maybe an average of 8-9 corners per game. There are games even got, I think there's a game we got like 19 corners, another on 16 corners. And then how many of those corners did actually ended up on our heads? Maybe 1 or 2. Willian was terrible, Pepe was terrible from corners. Even Saka is terrible at corners. He needs to work on that. So from set pieces, he can help us. The only worry with Maddison is injuries. That is the other reason why I don't want us to buy someone like a Lamptey. Injuries. I would be very scared if he paid 60 million for Maddison and then he came with his the niggly injuries from Leicester and then he misses half of those games. That would be very disappointing. So I want players who can stay fit for a longer period of time. But 58 million, I'd hope he comes in stay fit because injuries can happen anytime. The ones I'm afraid of are the niggly injuries, the hamstrings, the thigh injuries that always come. Those ones are what I'm scared of. But I'd take Maddison. I'd pay the money for him. I really like Maddison.
Right. Houssem Aouar, I mean, He's a bargain this summer. He was expensive one last summer. He's a bargain this summer. Would you take him?
For that price, yes, I would. And it's always an Arsenal thing when I think Partey, we are linked to Partey for like 3 years before we got him. Higuain linked to him for like 6 years, we never got him. Benzema, 10 years, we never got him. I don't know why it takes so much time on players. I don't know. For me, it has always sounded like Awar doesn't really want to come to Arsenal. I don't know how you feel about him. It's always sounded like he's not very keen to come at Arsenal. So if he joins again, 28 million, 30 million, I'm okay with that. You can bring what we don't have. We don't have a number 10. We have Smith Rowe, but we need more experience in that position. So something different, I'd definitely try. Awar, yes or no? I'd say yes for that price. But the price they were asking last season, too much.
Right. And lastly, Marshall Sabitzer. Another bargain, so around 17 million euros, around 14 to 15 million pounds. He has the experience, he's 27. He has the experience, he's really talented. Another one that can play on the wings, another one can play in the central midfield as well as an attacking midfielder. I think he's been so good at RB Leipzig. And Leipzig, are going to lose him for just a small fee. I mean, it's a little bit unfortunate for them, but you take him. I mean, would you be so glad to take him? Would you take him over Aouar or probably over Madison as well?
I think Sabitzer has played in the Euros. Really depends on the price. Now, I can't lie to you. I've not sat down and totally watched Aouar at Lyon for 50 games and watched Sabitzer at Leipzig for 50 games. I've not sat down and watched all of them to compare who's better than the other. Age-wise, I'd prefer Aouar because he's young and still has more time. Experience-wise, maybe Sabitzer and stuff. But it really depends on the price. Those are the ones that really look at the price first. I'd go for Madison first for the experience and the Premier League experience first. And then later, I'd look at the likes of Sabitzer. But Sabitzer, Aouar, I'd take Aouar.
Well, thanks everybody for watching the show. It's been interesting. A couple of people who have been asking me my numbers are on my screen. You could buy, you could just sponsor us for internet. You could just get us a super chat, as simple as that, and you'll be able to support the podcast. Do smash a like on the video. That is the first way to support the podcast. Do smash a like on the video and subscribe as well, that we can get to many subscribers as we can. My numbers are on the screen. Been with Glenn. United did sign Jadon Sancho, by the way. Thoughts on that? Are you scared? Do you think they could? I mean, many people think United getting Sancho because they finished second last season, maybe he could win them the title. What do you think about that?
Oh, he'll definitely improve them. They are sorting out a position where they needed a player. I think they've had to use Greenwood in that position, maybe not liking it. They've had to use Rashford in that position. But scared? Nah. I'll tell you when I was scared of United. I was scared of United when they used to beat us 8 goals and they had Anderson, Rooney. I was scared of United. I was scared when they got Di Maria, Rooney, Falcao, Van Persie at the same time, Schweinsteiger, same time. So they're sorting out their problems. Let's sort out our problems and try and compete next season.
Right. Thanks, everybody. Thank you so much, Glenn, for coming on. Where do they find you, by the way? Twitter and a couple of other social media handles.
Glenn Kitely, everything Arsenal on YouTube. My comment is there. On Twitter, just search for Glenn Kitely, same name. You'll find it. And also Facebook, everything Arsenal. My second channel, everything football, for talking about other teams. So yeah, just that. And thank you for having me again, man. It's great to be back again.
Good to be back. I hope you're well now. I hope you're not getting sick again.
I hope so. I'm going for another checkup on Monday, and hope I can do more of these shows. So, yeah,
exactly. Thank you so much, Glenn, for coming on. And thanks everybody who joined us. The comments, the likes, the voting in the poll, and of course, all those people who enjoyed it. Do smash a like, and I'll speak to you at 6:30 p.m. with all the news that has been coming out today around Arsenal.